could listen to this.
Well, we just wrapped up the today's briefing from the coronavirus task force. President Trump led it, and you'll be forgiven if you sort of had forgotten what were the news headlines out of it. The president's own personal grievances seemed to dominate the large chunk of that, but there was some important information that was said by others in that briefing. Number one, FEMA is taking the lead response here throughout the nation. You heard Vice President Pence say that at one point. Dr. Birx noted that statistically it's 3 states that essentially are the hot spots right now with half the cases. 10 counties account for 50% of the cases right now. Sort of her point there saying that we that is one way to sort of concentrate resources right now. But she emphasized again that the guidelines that are out there 10 or less include not getting into any groups of more than 10 people. Let me go to Dr. Torres first, our medical correspondent, because I think the other point of this briefing today was to try to highlight what the FDA is doing.
Yeah, that's right.
With trying to fast track some drugs that can at least help with treatment. This is not a vaccine. This is just with treatment. What more can you tell us about these drugs, Dr. Torres?
And Chuck, you're right. One of the things they highlighted is what the FDA is doing to try and get us 3 different forms of treatment, essentially. The vaccine is the last one. That's the one that's going to take a year and a half. And they talked about possibly fast-tracking that. That's a little tough to do because biology only moves at a certain pace. But then they talked about a couple of other things that can help bridge the gap. One of them are the medicines that they're saying they're looking for approval, don't have approval yet, but they can be used on this compassionate use basis. And one of them, remdesivir, which is a medicine that's experimental at this stage, but it's showing promise. The other one, chloroquine, which is a malaria medicine that's been around since the 1930s. On top of that, they're also saying that this plasma you can get from other survivors might help.
What is that? Okay, just so that means if you're diagnosed with coronavirus, they can't seem to, what is it that this drug will help in the treatment part of this?
So they call it convalescent serum. So if somebody's diagnosed with COVID-19 with a disease, they recover from it. They're still going to have those antibodies in their blood. They get that blood, they process it, and then they give it to somebody else who has the disease, and those antibodies kick in. It gives them a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months of those antibodies to fight it off until hopefully this medicine or this vaccine comes to fruition. These are all just bridging the gaps until we get to that vaccine. That's the main point.
Gotcha, Dr. Torres. Thank you there. Let me go to Stephanie Ruhle on what we heard. We heard probably the biggest, I guess, news. Again, I'll put that in quotes from him, but he said he was in favor of equity stakes. And I'm sure that is what a lot of people heard. I'm sure you heard that, Stephanie. Our headline today in First Read was the era of small government is over. Yes, it is. The government is going to be owning some companies if they want help from the taxpayers, according to President Trump.
Yes, but what we're hearing more and more, though people like that there is some stimulus, people from the business community are saying this is just the beginning. It's going to have to be significantly bigger. And one thing the president said that most business leaders just do not agree with is this V curve. He keeps saying that the economy is going down because of corona, and as soon as the numbers go down, it's going to spike back up. CEOs across the board, Chuck, are saying this thing is going to look a whole lot more like a U. We're not going to snap back in. Do you think corporate travel is going to zip back into gear in a couple of months? The answer is no.
Right. No, there does seem to be, he seems to be having some denial about modelings on the health front as well as the economic front there. But Stephanie Ruhle, thank you there. Let me go to Kristen Welker. And Kristen, I have to say that was candidate Donald Trump at times. It feels like the grievances are back. Whatever focus he was on being the wartime president over the last couple of days seemed to go out the window. He seems to be just looking for reasons to be upset about things. And he certainly seems to not want to take any accountability on the field, on the testing debacle that clearly has held back our response.
Incredibly defiant, Chuck, when I asked him about that and the clear lack of preparation when it comes to testing. I mean, the government has acknowledged that they didn't initially have enough tests in place. Now they are ramping that effort up, and yet there are still some areas where there are shortages. I also did, though, Chuck, ask him about the American Hospital Association, asking for $100 billion. He said they are working with the association on getting those funds to them, and of course we know that the president and and Congress now working on a third stimulus package on Capitol Hill, Chuck.
But it was odd to hear him say, hey, the states need to deal with this stuff. We're not a shipping clerk. I believe he used at one point, saying it was the
That's
states
right.
that needed to go get this equipment.
That's right, and that's why governors have pushed back against that and have said we need more of a federal response as it relates to getting this critical medical equipment, Chuck.
All right, Kristen Welker at the White House, Stephanie Rule for us on the business trust, Dr. John Torres, our medical correspondent. Thank you. We will, of course, continue to follow all these developments in this crisis. Lester Holt will be back with not only a wrap-up on Nightly News tonight, but he's coming back again at 9 Central for a tremendous one-hour NBC News special report on the coronavirus pandemic. And we'll be back on the air before then as events warrant. For now, I'm Chuck Todd, NBC News in Washington. Good day.